guys, welcome back to my channel. So in my last video I spoke to you guys about healing the inner feminine, and in that video I briefly mentioned that when the feminine ends up too far in her shadow, that she can become hysterical. And I want to speak more about that today, because hysterical is actually a particular character structure. Now, what do I mean by character structure? So, in the 1900s, there was a man called Wilhelm Reich, and he was a psychoanalyst, and he said that people could be fitted into 5 different categories, and he called these categories character structures. And one of them is the hysterical character structure. Now, the way that a character structure is determined is by a person's body type, so literally the shape of their body, okay, the traumas they've experienced as a child, and the relationship that they had with their mother and their father. And so the way that a person has actually been, or a child really has been, directing their energy, in response to perhaps the environment that they're being raised in and the certain experiences that they're having, the energy will basically determine the structure of their auric field. So some layers of their auric field will be strong, some will be weakened, and also when it comes to the energy centers, the subtle energy centers, the chakras, some of them will be open and balanced and some of them will not. So when it comes to the hysterical character structure, the typical body type would be a pear-shaped body, so large hips and thighs, and the trauma, the original wound, would be rejection from the father. And the way that this child would have learned to respond to that rejection is through expressing their feelings, but expressing their feelings in quite an exaggerated and melodramatic way, okay? And this has actually become a habit for them, because this is the way that they have learnt to get attention. So they can even swing from having like very angry outbursts to completely withdrawing, becoming quite passive aggressive, sulking in a corner. Now, I want to make it clear that the point of this video is not that you watch it and you think, oh my God, this is describing me, I'm a complete crazy lunatic. This isn't for you to go away and judge yourself and to self-blame in any way, okay, or to go into shame. I'd really like you to just watch this video, and if you recognize these things in yourself, use it as use it to empower you, okay? Use it as information that you can use to help heal yourself, okay? If you are someone that is a very highly charged person, you do perhaps struggle with managing your emotions, perhaps you do fly into a rage, or you cry uncontrollably, and perhaps there's a lot of drama in your life, perhaps you're experiencing a lot of drama in your romantic relationships, then yes, it could be that this is the type of character structure that you are. But don't shame yourself. Try to see yourself through the lens of compassion, okay? And try to just see this as a way to, as I say, to step more into your power and be able to actually use this, okay, to heal yourself. So please be kind. Please be kind to yourself. So the hysterical character structure seems to be more prevalent in women than in men. And I think this may be because culturally, women have been sort of given full permission to express their emotions, whereas men have been taught to emotionally shut down more. And so that means that men will tend to be more rigid, and actually rigid is also another character structure. But I think women tend to fall more into the hysterical character structure. You know, there are particular cultures where women have really been given, you know, full permission to be quite vocal about their emotions. So they're very used to expressing themselves emotionally. So the only thing is that obviously is, you know, there's nothing wrong with obviously expressing your emotions. The problem is when it is not expressive, but it is excessive, okay, where the woman is now basically quite aggressive in the way that she's expressing herself. She's being melodramatic, she's very exaggerated, and basically she can thrive on drama, you know, because that is how she's used to getting attention. And so this can actually be a way for her to feel her emotions intensely. And that's because that really is the only way that she feels. And part of the reason for that is because she has become very disconnected to her core self, her authentic self. So in order for her to be able to feel her authentic self, she has to express herself in that excessive way. Otherwise, she is emotionally numb, okay? So for her to get in touch with her authentic self, she feels she has to express herself like that. But what actually ends up happening is that the authentic self is becoming more suppressed because she's not really getting in touch with her authentic self. So the authentic self becomes more suppressed in her. And so then again, she needs to express herself again in that highly emotional way to feel herself. So she's just constantly keeping herself stuck in this loop, never really getting in touch with her core self. More than anything, okay, she craves love and closeness, the love and closeness of a family. So often I have found in my personal practice that this person really longs for a family, okay? They could even be someone who is desperately just looking for a husband or a boyfriend to complete them, you know, someone they can raise a family with, you know. And also I've noticed that sometimes she will also really make that like high on the list of priorities of what she's looking for in her life. And also when it comes to the particular man that she may be after as well, it has to be someone that she feels is going to be able to completely take care of her needs, okay? So he perhaps needs to be wealthy as well to take care of her financially. So something like that would perhaps be, you know, top of list of priorities in the type of man or husband that she's searching for, because she needs to be looked after. She can actually be quite childlike in that way as well, where she feels like she needs to be looked after and she needs to be taken care of by somebody. So let's look at the chakra system. So the sacral chakra, which is actually associated with our emotions, the element of water here corresponds to this chakra. So it is a very emotional energy center, but it's also our sexual center and our pleasure center as well. So this will be very excessive in its energy. And that can mean that the person with this particular character structure may indulge a lot in sexual activity. And this is a way for them to actually release that excess energy that they have there. They can also just be somebody who is constantly yelling and screaming at people, you know, to try and rid this excess energy. The other chakras that I have found, this is my personal analysis here, by the way, from people with this particular character structure that I have come across in my personal practice, I have found that the solar plexus as well can be quite excessive here. So the solar plexus, you know, if it's excessive, then this person is going to be someone who perhaps is even obsessed with perfectionism. They might be very obsessed with their outward appearance, you know. They may be somebody who's very critical, very demanding as well. And, you know, particularly towards themselves, there's self-criticism there. You know, they could be putting a lot of pressure on themselves to be a certain way and to actually be a high achiever. And that is also partly because of the trauma. Part of the trauma is that it's not just rejection by the father, but it's also often this child has grown up with very high expectations from their parents. Yeah, the brow center can also be very excessive, which can mean that this person struggles to focus. There is a lack of clarity there. They're not able to see things very clearly. They may be deluded, you know, may be deluded about the person that they're with. You know, they may think that the man that they're with is going to turn out okay eventually, and he doesn't. They may also, because there is that very open excessive brow center, they could be very obsessed with things like psychic readings, you know, constantly wanting to have readings done to you know, in the hope of being told something that they want to hear to make them feel better. So the heart center can be very deficient in its energy flow, and can also, in some cases I have found, is completely blocked. And this is because there is a struggle to actually connect with people through the giving and the receiving of love. There can actually just be very little love in the heart. So the way that she feels she needs to get love could be through playing manipulative games with her partner. She may even be somebody who is waiting to be rescued. Yeah, she's waiting for her knight in shining armor to appear to make everything better. The breathing as well in her can be very shallow, can be quite superficial breathing actually, where she's never really taking a full breath in. And because of this trouble actually breathing properly, she can even experience panic attacks when she finds herself in a very highly emotional situation. And sometimes she will just completely avoid people altogether, completely cut people out of her life through, you know, criticism and judgment of them. Okay, so now let's talk about a couple of ways in which we can heal this. Yeah, so we have a very excessive solar plexus center and an excessive sacral center. So really what we want to do is we want to be able to bring this energy flow into our heart space, which is deficient, right? So we do this by focusing our attention on our heart center, doing this regularly, every day, daily. Okay, this is a daily practice of focusing, resting your awareness on your heart and breathing through your heart. So breath work is very good for healing the heart, for opening up the energy flow in the heart, yeah, in the heart center. So the other thing we can do is we can practice giving, because giving is a very loving action. So because there will be little love here, we can try and maybe tune into that love through the act of giving. Okay, buying a gift for someone, I have found personally, really opens up the heart. Okay, really gets you in touch with the heart. When you do something good for someone, it does really make you feel love in your heart. You want to practice because think about it, right? The solar plexus is here below the heart, and if your heart is open, then obviously you're making your actions more aligned with love, more loving action. You want to also be able to practice things like compassion towards yourself and empathy towards yourself. Part of the trauma for the hysterical character structure is the lack of empathy towards them when they were a child. So she will need to learn to have empathy towards herself, right? Because when we are kids, you know, our shortcomings, you know, our mistakes were not always met with compassion, you know. So notice when you're doing that to yourself. Notice the next time you spill something, you know, do you curse yourself? Do you berate yourself when things go wrong? Are you someone who is really hard on yourself? Even while you're watching this video, notice what comes up for you. Are you sitting there now criticizing yourself, judging yourself because you've noticed some of the things that I've mentioned are perhaps things that are present in you? You know, if you are doing that, then notice that that's what you're doing and try to shift into a more compassionate place for yourself. Okay, because this isn't easy. Okay, admitting things to yourself is not easy, even though it's a big part of healing is to actually be honest with yourself. Okay, because there's a lot of self-examination that goes on with healing yourself. So it's not an easy thing to do, to look at yourself, you know. So be easy on yourself. So another thing that we can do to help heal is emotional containment. Okay, so a lot of the times we're used to therapists telling us to let it out, okay, to have an angry outburst, you know, have that release, go and punch a pillow, or, you know, cry uncontrollably if you need to, let your tears out, don't hold back. So this isn't the case with the hysterical character structure, because remember, she has no trouble expressing herself emotionally at all. So in this case, she needs to learn emotional containment, which is doing the opposite to releasing. Okay, so what we're doing here is, rather than having an emotional release, okay, we are learning to contain our emotions. Yeah, because the thing is that for this person to be letting out their emotions is just them re-experiencing their trauma, which actually re-traumatizes the nervous system. Okay, and that's not what we want to do here. What we want to do is be able to take the emotion and actually bring it more into our body. So the way emotional containment works is that when an emotion arises, we don't immediately act on it. Okay, the hysterical character structure is used to acting on their emotions straight away, okay, because they just want to completely release it straight away, and they're in a habit of doing that, so they're not used to actually containing their emotions. The emotion needs to be brought fully into consciousness because it's to be integrated. So we have to allow all the tissues in our body to actually absorb the emotion. Okay, we have to allow the emotion to expand us so that it can then be transformed. So the hysterical character structure would be more used to sort of acting straight away. So when they feel sad, you know, they go and have an alcoholic drink, or, you know, they go yell at someone when they're angry, or, you know, they reach for the snacks when they're feeling sad, you know, things like that, or they go and have a lot of sex, you know. So that's what they would have to get used to not doing. So it's a case of actually having to train ourselves Okay, we're training ourselves to do something completely different here, which obviously isn't going to be easy, but you know, with practice, with time and practice, it will get easier. And actually what happens is, as well, is when we do this, okay, when we learn not to act immediately on our emotions and we learn to actually integrate them, we're going to learn so much more about ourselves, okay, about our habits and our behaviors, what actually motivates them, where do they come from, why do we do these things, you know. We learn so much more about ourselves, which means there's so much potential there to gain wisdom, okay. Because a lot of the times, okay, those things, these habits and behaviors that we have, they are a substitute. They are a substitute for something. So, you know, like if every time you feel frustrated and you go and have a snack every time you do that, or every time you feel bored you go and have a snack, yeah, then that is sometimes a substitute for you, for the lack of support in your life. It could be that there is, you know, something else like support or some other need that is not being met, and so the way you substitute for that is through this particular habit, which is not particularly healthy for you. Yeah, so I think I have covered everything that I wanted to say. Yeah, so I think I've covered everything I wanted to say today. I hope that you found this video helpful. And if you yourself have any insight about this, then please do share with me. Please don't be afraid to reach out and get in touch and connect. Thank you so much for watching my videos. And if you like this video, then give it a like and maybe consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. And can end up experiencing panic. I can't even talk properly because there is and this is because there's an inability for her to be able to disconnect. Connect. This is turning out to be a very long video. Okay, so here are some